This video serves as a guide for NVivo Analysis Project 1 as part of EDF 6479 Qualitative Data Analysis. This video includes expectations for the project and suggestions for working with NVivo. The NVivo Analysis Project is completed in 3 phases during the semester, so you can develop advanced skills for analyzing your data and learn to use the range of features in NVivo. In the video on coding, I highlighted 3 options for working with qualitative data. Using Microsoft Word, although in some cases Excel may work also, coding by hand, or using computer-assisted qualitative data analysis software. In this course, we will use NVivo. Although I'm excited for folks to learn this tool, I'm more concerned that you feel confident and competent as it relates to the philosophy undergirding qualitative data analysis. As someone who enjoys cooking and eating delicious meals, I find the process of analyzing qualitative data similar to preparing a great meal. You need quality ingredients and experience in the kitchen. When you're cooking, you can have the most high-quality protein or vegetables, but in the hands of an inexperienced cook, they may not be able to bring these ingredients to life. On the other hand, you may have sad wilted vegetables or a tough cut of meat, and even the most skilled professional would have trouble making these ingredients sing. In coding, as with cooking, you want to have high-quality inputs and someone with skill and experience manipulating those ingredients to create the final product. Qualitative data analysis is an art and a science. Throughout this course, I hope you can build upon a strong foundation for the principles of qualitative data analysis while also learning to use NVivo as a tool for analyzing your data. There are 4 primary tasks for NVivo Project 1. The first is to organize your data, then engage in coding, use the tools in NVivo to highlight connections, and reflect on both the content and process. To start, you'll open NVivo and create a new project. Give your project a title and description. To begin, you will organize your data. To continue with the cooking metaphor, setting up your project is very similar to setting up a great meal. You begin with your mise en place, or everything in place. How you organize your project will depend on your unit of analysis. This could be by person, it could be by round of data collection, or by site. In NVivo, there are multiple ways to do almost anything. To create folders where you will organize your data, you can go to Create, then click on a folder, and give the folder a name. You can also right-click on Files, select New Folder, and name the folder. Continue creating folders and subfolders until you've set up a structure for your data. In this project, I'm most interested in individual students and how they develop an understanding of communities in which they're serving, so I've organized my folder structure by participant. I've also created a folder where I can put articles and supporting literature. I wanted to show another example of a different type of folder structure. In this project, a colleague and I were looking at different sections of a service learning course, so we've organized the files by section, then by session, and then by the activity. Once you've created a folder structure, you're ready to import and manage multiple sources of data. This slide shows some possible data sources. This is by no means inclusive. In the discussion board, people mentioned having interview transcripts, focus group transcripts, survey responses, images, videos, social media data, and literature. As you engage in the iterative process of data collection and analysis, consider what additional documents or sources of data might be useful for your project. NVivo is an excellent repository for keeping everything together, so you can upload interview protocols, conceptual frame documents, or other supporting literature that might be useful in working on your project. There are 3 ways to upload files to your NVivo project. Start by selecting the folder where you'd like to upload the files. You can use the ribbon menu to upload files or different types of documents to your project. select the file and click Open, then Import. You have an opportunity to name your file and give it a description. In this case, the blog post already has a date and a title, so I'm going to click OK. Another way to upload files is to right-click in the folder, and then you can see similar options to the ribbon menu above. In this case, I want to rename the file and give it a description. When you upload one file at a time, you're prompted to give a name and description. When you upload multiple files at once, you don't have the opportunity to give the file a name and description when you upload it, but you can go back and give it a description later. Go to Properties, and you can give the file a description. A third way to upload files is to have the folder open side by side with NVivo and drag and drop the files into NVivo. Some files may not need a description because the name is self-explanatory. For other files, this can be a useful way to help other people know what's in your project, to remind you of significant information, and to make your project more credible and trustworthy. One source of data is images. This semester, I encourage everyone to consider how you might practice working with images as part of your project. In this example, I'm taking photos from the community service immersion blogs and including them as part of the project because they contribute to my understanding of the students' written work as part of their semester of service. Once you have a folder structure and you've imported data, you're almost ready to code, but first I want to talk about Memos. Memos serve as your research journal and are a tool for making meaning. They capture what you are thinking related to your project, whether that is an insight, aha moment, or question. Memos are also a place to systematically document your process in order to build an audit trail and enhance the trustworthiness and credibility of your analysis. Saldana described Memos as private and personal written musings before, during, and about the entire enterprise, which serve as a question-raising, puzzle-piecing, connection-making, strategy-building, problem-solving, answer-generating, rising above the data heuristic. Although NVivo is a tool for organizing and analyzing data, in qualitative studies, the researcher serves as an instrument of data collection and analysis. The tools cannot replace the researcher in the meaning-making process, and Memos facilitate deep thinking. Saldana provides suggestions for what you might write about in your memos. These include reflecting on your personal connection to the topic, the definitions you give for the codes, the 5 R's of participants: routines, rituals, rules, roles, and relationships, emerging ideas and patterns, problems, challenges, or ethical dilemmas, and thinking about the future, including next steps, building towards a final report. Taken together, your memos demonstrate your thinking throughout the process. When you are writing memos, don't get caught up with grammar or perfect writing. This is a place to capture your emerging ideas, which may sometimes be more effective in stream of consciousness or bullet points. If you have an insight when you aren't at your computer, write it down or type it in your phone and add it to your project later. You can read more about memos in the Weeks 3 and 4 module on the Canvas site. In NVivo, there is a place for memos in the Notes section. You may choose to organize your memos in folders, or you may put them all in one folder. In this project, you can see I organized my memos by analytic, methods, process, and reflection. Qualitative research is an iterative process, and it often includes an emergent and flexible research design. In the past, some folks have interpreted this to mean anything goes, but this is far from the truth. Within the emergent and flexible design, each decision in the process of condensing, displaying, and drawing conclusions from your data is based on the literature, methods texts, and justifying your decisions at each step in the process. Be sure to use your memos to reflect on both the content of your project and the process of your analysis. Once you've created folders, added data to the project, and are prepared to write memos, it's time to begin coding. One of the things people have shared with me is that coding can be intimidating. People are worried about getting it, quote, right and coding too much or not enough, or whether their codes will make sense. The best thing I can say for coding is you just have to jump in and start. Before you begin, be sure to read through your data fully to get a sense of what you're working with. The first file you code has a significant influence on how your codes develop, so try to choose one that is typical or representative, or one that is particularly rich in detail. One important note is that in NVivo, codes are called nodes. To code, begin by opening a document. For a text-based document, read through until you come upon a section that seems relevant to your research questions or worthy of your attention. As with most functions in NVivo, there are multiple ways to complete the same task. I'll show you 4 ways to create a code. The first is to go to the Create tab and click on Node. You'll be prompted to give the node a name and a description. The second is to right-click in the Node section and click New Node. You'll also be prompted to give a name and a description. You can also highlight a section of text and drag it into the Node section, where you'll be prompted to give the node a name and a description. Finally, you can highlight a section of text. Right-click on what you highlighted and click Code. You'll be prompted to choose an existing code or create a new code. When I demonstrated the multiple ways to create nodes, you can see that in most of the options, you're prompted to give the node a name and a description. In one case, you won't be prompted and you'll have to go back and add a description. You can add the description by right-clicking on the node, going to Node Properties, and typing in a description. The descriptions you give your nodes serve several functions. They're useful when you're working with others, so you can apply the codes consistently. They build an audit trail. They remind you of what you decided to include or not include in a code. And they can serve as a reminder when you have some time between coding sessions and want to make sure that you're using the codes consistently. NVivo automatically creates a codebook from your nodes. Go to Share, then click Export Codebook. Sometimes I like to print the codebook and have it next to me so that I can refer back to descriptions easily. Codebooks are also useful to share with others when you're working on a collaborative project. And as we move into further stages of analysis, it can be useful to have the descriptions of your codes available when you're creating hierarchies and node trees. One way to visualize the data you've coded is to use coding stripes. Click on Coding Stripes, and then you can either select nodes, or in this case, I want to look at everything I've coded. This brings up a bar on the side, which allows me to see what nodes I've used and what text has been coded to those nodes. The bar showing coding density shows me where one section of text has been coded to multiple nodes. If you change your mind about something, you have the option to uncode the text. Highlight the text you wish to change, then right-click and go to Uncode. Then select the nodes from which you wish to uncode the text. Once you've coded a few items, you will likely have a coding structure that looks something like this, a number of individual nodes. In Project 2, you will revisit your analysis to create a hierarchy or a tree structure that moves you from codes towards patterns, categories, and advanced analysis. The last thing I want to highlight for NVivo Project 1 is creating connections within your project. One of the important functions of qualitative data analysis is highlighting connections between elements within your project. Earlier in the video, I described the function of memos. There are two other types of connections that you can use within your project: annotations and see also links. Annotations function like a comment in Microsoft Word. They work well for brief thoughts and reminders, as opposed to a longer reflective memo. You can create an annotation by highlighting text and either right-clicking and selecting New Annotation or choosing New Annotation from the ribbon menu. I find annotations particularly useful when looking at literature to take notes about connections I see between the literature and the project, questions I want to follow up on, or generally the types of notes I would take in the margins of a paper. Based on my experience working with NVivo, annotations are one of the more underrated features. Imagine an annotation as a virtual sticky note. When I click on Annotations, I can see all of the annotations across files. When I click on a specific annotation, I'm directed to that annotation and the segment of the document that I highlighted when I made the annotation. See also links allow you to connect ideas or highlight contradictions, create links to literature, or build sequences and explanations by connecting one idea to another. This image is Table 2.1 from page 44 of the second edition of the Qualitative Data Analysis with NVivo textbook. It gives a nice at-a-glance review of the different ways you can link items within your project. I will briefly review 4 types of see also links. The first type of link is a memo link between an item and a memo. In this example, I want to write a memo about this blog post. I can click on the blog post and then click Memo Link and link to a new memo. I give the memo a name, and then I can add the content to the memo. This icon tells me that this item is linked to a memo, and when I hover over it, I can see the name of the memo. The second type of see also link is linking a memo to a node. In this case, I click on the node, then click Memo Link, and link to new memo. Once again, I can see the icon that tells me that this node is linked to a memo. Another option for a see also link is connecting specific text to a full item. In this case, I highlight the text, then create a new see also link. Then I can select the file to which I would like to link this text. I can also link specific text in one document with specific text in another document. Copy the first text you would like to link, then go to the other file, highlight the text, and paste as a see also link. To give an example of how I might use see also links to link specific text, during their service immersion projects, a number of students described how their commute to their service site shaped their understanding of a new community. In that case, I might write a memo describing my observations about this pattern, and then link the text in the memo to the specific text where each student talks about their experience with commuting. It's one thing for me to copy all of this text into a node. It's another thing for me to create see also links to a memo where I'm building a case for the significance of this in responding to my research questions, or at least exploring the idea and committing it to paper for further reflection. I encourage you to experiment with see also links and figure out how to build the web of connections within your project. The final element of your project is writing your synthesis reflection. Although this video includes some explanation of how to use NVivo and what each tool does, The most important element of your project is why. In the Memos section, you'll create a folder labeled Synthesis, where you will save a synthesis to accompany each of your submissions. The questions for the synthesis are included in the project description in Canvas. If you are looking for additional resources for using NVivo, I encourage you to look at the QSR International website. In the NVivo 12 Help section, they include using NVivo, files, coding, and nodes, all of which could be useful for this project, as well as cases, queries, and visualizations, which will be useful for NVivo projects 2 and 3. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope it was useful for considering not just what you will do and how you will do it, but why you will make the analytic decisions that support understanding your topic and answering your research questions. I look forward to seeing your projects. Please email me if you have any questions.